Brace yourselves, America. Hurricane Milton isn't just a natural disaster headed straight for Florida. It's a perfect storm of government incompetence and shocking priorities. While Floridians evacuate in droves, the question everyone's asking is, where is FEMA? Well, I will tell you where. Funneling your tax dollars to illegal immigrants. That's right. While Americans cling to rooftops, the Biden administration is more concerned with disaster equity than saving lives. Governor DeSantis is stepping up at Washington while they are AWOL. Stay tuned because what I'm about to reveal will make your blood boil. Now, as Hurricane Milton bears down on Florida, we're seeing firsthand how quickly disaster can strike. Folks, it's not just about weather, it's about being prepared for any crisis. That's where Global Gold Investments comes in. With our national debt skyrocketing and FEMA's priorities questionable, you need a storm-proof strategy for your finances. Gold has weathered economic hurricanes for centuries. Call that number on the screen, 888-700-4148 now and get their free 2024 Protect Your Wealth and Retirement Guide. Don't wait until the financial storm hits. Call 888-700-4148 or visit IRAGoldproof.com. It's linked below. Mention Next News for a complimentary portfolio analysis. Remember, if you don't have gold, you don't have true wealth. Okay, so I've been tracking this all weekend and got a lot of news to get into here. But right now, we're looking at Hurricane Milton amplifying into a Category 5. Major Hurricane Milton is a record-breaking hurricane, likely to be retired, Category 5 in just moments, 155 plus mile per hour winds, 15 to 20 foot storm surges, 20 MB drop in 3 hours to 945 millibar, may be the fastest rapid intensification ever seen in the Gulf of Mexico. And evacuations are currently underway. People in Tampa Bay region are preparing for impacts from the second major hurricane landfall in 2 weeks. Helene was bad, but the wind and storm surge from Milton could be even worse in places like Tampa and Sarasota. Abandoned by FEMA, North Carolina town residents devastated by Helene left to fend for themselves. That is the New York Post today. Folks, this is a 1-2 punch that we are about to witness. And the projections for this, you can see right here on your screen. This projection puts it almost direct hit on Tampa and all the way down to Naples, Cape Coral, Fort Myers. And this is not good. And there's other projections that actually show it going right up the East Coast again, devastating the very towns that were devastated during Helene. So this is really bad. At the same time, there are people sabotaging truckers that are bringing loads down to the Helene disaster area. Listen to this trucker here.
I was just notified. I'm a truck driver, in case anybody wasn't aware. So I got connections with the ports and the railroads and other drivers. 51 truck drivers. 51 trucks who were delivering goods. They were on their way to deliver supplies down to the devastated areas of Hurricane Helene. Well, they pulled into a truck stop to get fuel. Every single one of their trucks, all their tires were slashed. Every one of them. Yet, all the other drivers that had nothing to do with what they were doing, they were okay. I'm sorry, if you don't see a problem with that, does anybody else find that highly questionable?
Yeah, we are under attack from within. That's according to the Post here. And it's posts like that that is really infuriating people like Pete Buttigieg and others who claim that this is all just misinformation that's being spread. Now, to clarify here, you may have seen this video. This has been going viral. If you could go vertical for a second, Brian, I'd appreciate that. So this is a viral video. I want to make everyone clear. This is not related to Hurricane Helene. This was actually back in June of 21 off the coast of Florida. People were believing this video was related to weather modifications. I just want to make sure that it's not. But what Peter Schweitzer is saying, you can go back to horizontal, Brian. U.S. government is hiding their forecast model. This is Peter Schweitzer. The National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration cannot reveal weather forecasts from a particularly accurate hurricane prediction model to the public that pays for American government agency because of a deal with a private insurance risk firm. So because the government has a private deal, they are not revealing the true information related to this hurricane. Let's listen to this.
Preparing for, I urge Floridians to finalize your storm preparations now, enact your plan. I highly encourage you to evacuate. We are preparing, and I have the State Emergency Response Team preparing for the largest evacuation that we have seen, most likely since 2017 Hurricane Irma. But to that end, I want to go back to our basics. Evacuate if you're in an evacuation zone. If you are not in an evacuation zone and your house was built in conjunction with the Florida Building Code, which pretty much throughout the state of Florida means after 2004, you may be better just to stay in place. If you're dependent on power, you will need to evacuate. If you're dependent on a special set of circumstances, you'll need to evacuate. But if you're not one of those individuals and you're inland, not in an evacuation zone, it may be better for you to just stay in place.
The roads are going to be insane. People are going to be panicking and leaving the state. Now, here's Pete Buttigieg. Outrage over misinformation surrounding Hurricane Helene. Talking with former White House press secretary Jen Psaki. So you know they have a cozy relationship, right?
Helene, because joining me now is Secretary of Transportation Pete Buttigieg. Secretary, it's so great to see you, and I know you've had quite a week, so I appreciate you being here to talk to us about everything you've been working on. And I know we're going to talk about the port strike, but I want to start with the hurricane and the aftermath of Hurricane Helene, because your department and you have also played a role in helping with that. And the Washington Post reports that rumors and conspiracy theories have already prompted unnecessary evacuations, and some of these falsehoods have been viewed millions of times on social media. That's just some of the reporting. There's lots of reporting in local papers as well about how damaging this has been. But you and your department have been so involved. How damaging has the misinformation been? And what impacts are you seeing in terms of the recovery and the people who are trying to find loved ones and get accurate information?
So anytime you criticize the government response to anything now, it's misinformation. Anytime you see a video from a first-hand account of what's happening on the ground, they're going to call that misinformation. That is the modus operandi moving forward. Anything. It doesn't matter. Whether it's a pandemic, whether it's health-related, whether it's a hurricane or natural disaster, this is how they're playing it out.
Well, it can have a real cost for people on the ground who are already dealing with so much. And, you know, it's right up there with making sure that people have access to transportation, making sure they get their power back on, making sure communications come back. Another part of that is making sure you can get good, accurate, and useful information. Unfortunately, that has become, in many ways, more difficult in the current digital information environment. And so it's become more important than ever to have trusted and reliable sources. We've worked to make sure that information that gets to users is good. For example, state 511 systems, and then for responders, we set up a routing assistance hotline, just so that if you're involved in an emergency operation, you could call and get our data about where a road might actually be open and available, or out of service where a bridge was taken out. But you look at what's going on online, a lot of it seems to be driven by politics, and that is actively harming and disrupting the process of getting back to normal for so many people whose lives were upended by this awful storm.
And they're
Driven by politics? Really? Well, the buck stops at Kamala and Biden. So if we're going to direct our criticism to Kamala and Biden's response, it's directed at the administration. It has nothing to do with the if they have a D or an R next to their name. So He is the one that is turning it into a political game.
Cover is still certainly continuing. That's very helpful information for people to know out there. I saw this. I'm sure a lot of people saw this. You actually personally pushed back against some misinformation about hurricane relief in an exchange with Elon Musk, of all people, on Twitter. We are showing it right there, basically telling him that he could call you if he was confused. Whatever you told him seemed to work, because he publicly thanked you and said you're on the ball, which is not something he typically does. Did you end up speaking with him, or did he just take your word for it online?
No, he took me up on that. He called. We had a conversation. What we found out was actually happening was the FAA was not closing down any airspace, but there was an issue with pilots who were helping get Starlink equipment to where it needed to be, having the right information. We worked that with local authorities, and we're able to take care of it. And I think to me it's an example of how often the best thing to do is just to pick up the phone.
Yeah. And who's going to really answer? Pete Buttigieg? You're going to call Pete Buttigieg? Just something to keep in mind is that FEMA does have priorities, and one of their main priorities is ensuring disaster equity. They're very concerned with the LGBTQ and the trans community, ensuring that they get the necessary relief, because apparently they're already a suppressed group. Let's listen.
Discussions, because it being talked about sparked a few things in my mind, thinking about preparedness and how you said, LGBTQIA people and people who have been disadvantaged already are struggling. They already have their own things to deal with. So you add a disaster on top of that. It's just compounding on itself. And I think that is maybe the why of why we're having these discussions, is because it isn't being talked about. It isn't being socialized. We're not paying attention to this community. Thank you so much. Maggie.
Thank you. There are a couple of things that are intersecting in my mind here. One of them is the culture of emergency management as an organization, as an industry in the United States specifically, not abroad. This has, and my cat sometimes does this, she gets really loud suddenly, so you'll have to just allow for the little meowing in the background.
Is she one of those cat ladies?
The shift that we're seeing right now is a shift in emergency management from utilitarian principles where everything is designed for the greatest good for the greatest amount of people to disaster equity. But we have to do more, right? And so this topic is intersecting, I think, with a number of other topics where we have to look at policies and understand to what extent they have disadvantaged communities that had less assets, communities that had pre-existing vulnerabilities in accessing disaster-related recovery supports.
There's their priorities, my friends. Now, there's been a lot of talk about weather modification. Even Marjorie Taylor Greene, she pointed out that they can control the weather. It's not a secret. Here's Obama's CIA Director John Brennan talking about it. Anyone who says they don't or makes fun of you is lying to you. By the way, the people know it and hate all of you who try to cover it up. This is Marjorie Taylor Greene, and she posted this video.
Temperature increases. Some risks associated. Another example is the array of technologies, often referred to collectively as geoengineering, that potentially could help reverse the warming effects of global climate change. One that has gained my personal attention is stratospheric aerosol injection, or SAI, a method of seeding the stratosphere with particles that can help reflect the sun's heat in much the same way that volcanic eruptions do. An SAI program could limit global temperature increases, reducing some risks associated with higher temperatures and providing the world economy additional time to transition from fossil fuels. This process is also relatively inexpensive. The National Research Council estimates that a fully deployed SAI program would cost about $10 billion yearly. As promising as it may be, moving forward on SAI would also raise a number of challenges for our government and for the international community.
So there you have it. That's John Brennan. He's talking about weather modification. But of course, you bring that up, you're just a quack. Here we go. This is posted a couple days ago. This is another storm model prediction for Hurricane Milton. Best way to think about it is that Florida will see a 1-2 punch. First one will bring rain on Sunday into Monday today with an area of low pressure along a stalled out front, then a second main punch from tropical storm or hurricane on Tuesday or Wednesday. Now, this was, of course, 2 days ago, and now we're seeing that Hurricane Milton is reaching Category 5 strength. And again, anytime you bring up anything related to questioning the response, questioning the actions, or whatever's going on behind the scenes, like we talked about the other day with the grounding of drone overflights, because they don't want the average American people to see the true cost of the devastation or the bodies. Yeah. So here is Republican Senator Tom Tillis. He's really upset about misinformation too.
That kind of. I noticed that a state senator in North Carolina named Kevin Corbin had been posting on Facebook asking people to stop conspiracy theory junk, as he called it, including claims the government's controlling the weather or stealing donation money. Who or what is fueling that kind of misinformation? And do you think it's harming recovery efforts?
Well, Margaret, I've been involved in a number of storm responses, and this is when I believe discipline is absolutely essential. Kevin is a friend of mine, and he's right to call out people. Many of these observations are not even from people on the ground. I believe that we have to stay focused on rescue operations, recovery operations, clearing operations, and we don't need any of these distractions on the ground.
Okay, but what about, did you guys see this video of this helicopter over a disaster recovery site? I've never seen anything quite like it, and it was pretty bad. Here it is. Okay, so you're concerned about misinformation or disruption of the flow of goods. Well, people have a real serious question about this. An unmarked Black Hawk helicopter rotor wash a supply drop-off in western North Carolina. These guys have no idea who did this, and they're trying to figure this out. Brian, go vertical with this. Look at this. This afternoon, an unmarked military-style helo flies into the local area. They had a meeting with parties involved to establish no fly, no drops. They flew and hovered around for a bit, looking likely they wanted to land despite our signals telling them no. They dipped down, performed a rotor wash, which seemed deliberate, then flew off, destroying a lot of the staging area and harming the people directly below them. The helo was unmarked. They were unable to zoom in and see the masked person. Who flies unmarked and unmasked? Local PD came in. We've been trying to find and track their flight info. They're ghosts, they said. 40 minutes, 2 unmarked black SUVs running blue lights rolled in, circled around, and left. Look at this. Look at the damage that's done to all of the goods that are set to go out. This is going viral right now. They still don't know who this was. That's just one story, my friends. One story. Here we go. Another update. Hurricane Milton seems unnatural. Its movement from the Bay of Campeche directly towards Florida's west coast is very unique. MJ Truth Ultra did some digging. Typically, hurricanes that affect Florida from the Gulf Coast either come up from the southern Gulf or loop around after initially moving west. However, starting directly from the southwestern Gulf like Milton did and heading due east into Florida's west coast is not common. Such a direct path from its origin towards Florida's west coast has not been seen in the last 80 years. Brian, go vertical, please, or horizontal. This makes the hurricane extremely unpredictable. Hurricane Milton has rapidly evolved into a significant weather event. It's expected to intensify into major Category 3. Now it's upwards of Category 5 before it hits the Gulf Coast. It's going to hit Wednesday. Now, currently, winds are at 155. The projected path has a wide cone of uncertainty, but it's primarily aimed at Florida's Gulf Coast. This means that impacts could be felt as far south as Naples to the Big Bend region, with the central forecast near Tampa Bay. So people don't... This is a very strange origination of this hurricane. Even Grant Cardone brought it up. He was questioning the origins of this hurricane. Let's see if I can find that post from Grant. Here he is. Grant Cardone. I grew up in the Gulf of Mexico, been watching storms since I was a young boy. I have never seen a storm start here and go east. Do you think the government is using technology to manipulate weather patterns and storms? That's Grant Cardone asking the question. Okay, he's no moron. This was just a couple days ago. No, this is 21 hours ago. Tampa Bay area, Sunday before the hurricane. People are already stocking up and going crazy. People are getting ready for this. And now, there was a point that was brought up to me. A friend of mine had sent me a message, and I have been watching this aspect of the Hurricane Helene element. And this question was raised about the world's largest lithium deposits right outside of Asheville. And the question's raised, would it be crazy if the largest lithium mining company in the world, 3 days before the flood began, submitted the permits for their mine right outside of Asheville? Would it be crazy if the mining company was given $250 million in grants to help with construction of their mine right outside of Asheville? Would it be crazy if less than a month before the flood started, BlackRock acquired 2.2 million shares of stock in the mining company? Would it be crazy if the residents that opposed the mine had their homes destroyed and property? Those are valid questions. Are we allowed to ask those questions? Are those questions permissible in this day of worrying about misinformation? No, we can ask questions, and we need to demand answers, my friends. This young lady here, North Carolina, in total chaos, lives of TikTok, posted this, and she's pleading people to share this information.
This video to go viral. I need you all to share this. Share it and tag and share and tag. Get this out. I need this to reach as far west. People, we have communities. We have people in these Appalachian Mountains right now. Right here in these Appalachian Mountains, we have brothers and sisters that are stuck, that are trapped. It has been 7 days. 7 days since Hurricane Helene hit the United States. We've got people trapped in these mountains. And people are asking where our military is. Our military can't do anything until the leader of this stupid country right now signs off on it. So our military is stuck. They cannot put boots on the ground. They cannot hike these Appalachian Mountains. They cannot rescue these people that are in these mountains that are stuck. They can't get to them. They can't do anything. Our military can't do anything because they will not sign the orders to release them. It is up to us, American people, and we are doing everything we can. We got hit in Greene County. Our riverbank is gone. Houses are gone. I need y'all to understand, outside of these Appalachian Mountains, the news are not covering it. They're not telling what it's like. The county above us, Unicoi County, is the county you've seen all over the news where the people were on top of the hospital, had to be rescued. You saw how much water they had. That water came down to Greene County. You all have saw Newport, Cott County. Dolly was there yesterday. Dolly Parton. That's where she done her press conference where she's donating $2 million. $1 million out of her pocketbook and $1 million out of her donation, or out of her fund. Guys, East Tennessee and Western North Carolina is 1,000 times worse than the news has made it out to be. There is people, I need y'all to understand, especially coastal states. You all that live in a state that is surrounded by the ocean, that it connects to the ocean, when you get hit with a hurricane, yours involves an ocean. That ocean comes in, it floods you, but it sucks back out. You are still left with your buildings. You're still left with your homes to be able to go in and see if you can salvage anything. Okay? You're left with that. These people aren't left with that. These people don't even have a structure to go back to see if they can save anything. These people don't have anything to go back to look at. It is a concrete slab, and it's here, and it's in Unicoi, and it's in Cott County, and it's across that state line in North Carolina. And I'm going to tell you now, North Carolina is so much worse than anywhere. Those mountain towns, you've got to understand, people live off grid for a reason. They want to keep talking about the death toll. They want to keep comparing this hurricane to Katrina and the death toll. I'm here to tell you now, and I've told other people, and I've talked to news stations, and I'm telling you, this death toll will blow Katrina out of the water. There is people we don't even know who was on those Appalachian mountains hiking them. There is people that live off grid for a reason. We have no idea how many people lived in those mountains. We don't know how many homeless people had camps set up in those mountains. I can tell you now, where I live, there was homeless camps set up all along the river. All along the river. And now they're gone. And we don't even know if the homeless made it out. We don't know if they're alive. We don't know anything, people. We don't know. You need to understand there are bodies washing up. This ain't a joke. There is counties in North Carolina that don't have enough body bags. They have already filled thousands. There is one county in particular, they've done filled 1,000 and they're begging for more because they don't have any more. Please do not compare this hurricane to Katrina. Don't even compare what Florida got from Hurricane Helene. Do not compare what they got compared to East Tennessee and Western North Carolina, because I'm going to tell you now, we're not the same. We are not the same. People have asked, why were we not prepared? You can't prepare for something that has never happened. It's the same as asking Florida, why are you not prepared for a blizzard? Because a blizzard has never happened in Florida. I am in Tennessee. I do not connect to an ocean. There is no reason that we should have had that much damage. Have we ever been flooded by hurricanes? Yes. But nothing like what we just endured. You've got to understand, we didn't have an ocean that come in and then suck back out. We had
thousands, she says. Thousands of body bags. Not prepared for anything of this magnitude. I'm going to get to Samaritan's Purse, Franklin Graham, in a second here, but I want to bring up a post that President Trump just made on Truth Social. The great people of North Carolina are being stood up by Harris and Biden. Now, he's getting criticized for saying this, but we're going to show you the truth. From their own freaking mouths, we're going to show you the truth. This is the misinformation that they're afraid of getting out when we correct the freaking record. The great people of North Carolina are being stood up by the Harris and Biden administration, who are giving almost all the FEMA money to illegal migrants in what is now considered to be the worst rescue operation in the history of the United States. On top of that, billions of dollars is going to foreign countries. North Carolina has been virtually abandoned by Kamala. Drop her like she dropped you. Vote for President Donald Trump. Well, guess what? They're saying that Trump is lying, that FEMA never gave this money to illegals. Well, guess what? Guess what? Guess what?
It's just categorically false. No, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. So FEMA regional administrators have been meeting with city officials on site to coordinate available federal support from FEMA and other federal agencies. Funding is also available through FEMA's emergency food and shelter program to eligible local governments and non-for-profit organizations upon request to support humanitarian relief for migrants. It's just
there it is. There it is from the frickin' White House own mouth. These people are lying to your face, and they want to call us correcting the record misinformation. Drew Hernandez, 5 hours ago, Kamala Harris and the Democrat Party are now denying the feds allocated FEMA money to assist efforts to illegal aliens. Well, here's CNN's flashback that proves otherwise.
That they know are receiving it. So now the White House says that for those cities that they know are receiving an influx of migrants, that includes New York City, as you just said, Chicago, and here in Washington, D.C., there is somebody from FEMA, that federal emergency management agency, ready and willing to really help those cities when it comes to management of these influx of migrants, including reimbursing some of those cities. That's a part of the kind of the response that the White House is now giving. So now just the White House says...
Listen. They're trying to tell you that that didn't happen. They gave millions and millions and millions of dollars to people that do not have a right to be here. People who broke the law to come into this country. And you have people like that woman and people that she knows and people that we've been covering here. Like David and Black and Chimney Rock. Right? They have nothing to go back to. They're not getting luxury accommodations and $15,000 gift cards. No, they get a paltry check for $750 that they have to find an internet connection to go ahead and apply to. But then they're blocking the Starlinks coming in. So you can't even get an internet connection. And people are getting rejected, as we previously reported. You know, I don't normally get this worked up, but I'm just tired of this. I am so tired of this. Here's another hurricane model from 23 hours ago. All but one model shows Hurricane Milton heading into the Florida coast. One track has the storm going on a similar path as Hurricane Helene. This track should be watched closely with how far Milton is from landfall, and anyone who's ever seen a storm in the Gulf knows the storm could easily take a more northern track and cause a 1-2 punch to an already devastated area. So look at that. Look at that track, my friends. Think about this. If that hurricane heads north, you have disaster relief efforts underway with all the supplies that are going into that area. All that stuff could get washed away. This is but remember this. Here's FEMA signing an NAACP pledge to instill equity.
And it's official.
To instill equity in disaster relief. Yeah. Here's Anna Paulina Luna. Go vertical, Brian.
All right, morning updates as follows. Just met with Hillsborough County EOC, talked to Pinellas County EOC. What we are expecting is in the Pinellas County and Hillsborough County regions, so Tampa Bay, if this hurricane is projected to go the path that it is currently, we are expecting flooding up to 9 feet in certain areas. So if you're in flood zone A, also too, if you're in the barrier islands, it is likely only a matter of time before they do the mandatory evacuation orders. So if you don't have a lot of money to travel, which a lot of people are tight right now, what we are hearing is east of 75, so you go 10 miles inland, you should be okay. There's going to be a lot of rain, a lot of wind. Remember, you're going to shelter from the wind and run from the water. That's the motto that you're using if you are in these affected areas. Please do not take this for granted. This is coming directly at us as of right now. We already have super saturated ground because of the previous flooding with Helene. This is going to be worse, and a lot of these people that are not with us now, unfortunately, are not with us because they chose to stay. So please do not take this for granted. Please leave. All right, morning updates as follows. Just met with Hillsborough.
This is where we're at, my friends. National Hurricane Center, Monday. Milton rapidly intensifies to a Category 4 hurricane. Maximum sustained winds have now increased to 150 miles per hour. Minimum pressure has fallen to 94 MB. That was Marjorie Taylor Greene. Check this guy out. This guy's in Tampa. Brian, go vertical, please. This is a Tampa resident who was just hit by Helene, and now they're getting ready for Hurricane Milton.
All right, so we are currently, it's Sunday. We're currently in the path for Milton, Tampa, Florida. It's not looking good right now. It's going to be, I think, a way heavier storm. This is what our street looks like right now. Debris everywhere. All the way down there. All the way down there. If this, it's 110 mile an hour wind with a storm surge, I just pray to God the house doesn't get destroyed. I mean, if the storm surge is anything like the rest, or last week, or even bigger, it's going to be extremely detrimental. Like, Tampa's already going to be fucked, and everything south of Tampa. But we're getting a U-Haul, trying to pack up as much stuff as we can. This is the first hurricane ever I'm leaving for. So, all right, so.
That's just the beginning, friends. People are bracing for impact. FEMA is allocating disaster relief to migrants, and based on equity, this thing's ramping up to a Category 5. We got unmarked Black Hawk helicopters, rotor washing supply drops. DeSantis issuing an executive order this morning to get the Guard in action ahead of Milton. He got Pinellas County dumps opened up. Now all over the county, you see this happening. You see dump trucks getting ready to get all of the debris. Here is I-4 and I-75. They are backed up from people trying to evacuate due to Hurricane Milton. Look at that. Sassafras 84 says, I don't want to hear in the aftermath, why didn't they leave? People are trying to. You don't want to get stuck on the interstate during a hurricane. What do these people do? I mean, you're just sitting there in a car. You're a sitting duck. I could not imagine what it's like to live in these areas. Ron DeSantis, the Florida National Guard, all hands on deck.
Removal of Florida National Guard, Florida State Guard, additional FDOT personnel, Florida Highway Patrol are all hands on deck for this debris removal mission in advance of Hurricane Milton. Over 800 guardsmen are currently deployed in impacted areas, and we are in process of mobilizing a total of 4,000 to be deployed throughout the state. National Guard's also deploying heavy equipment to assist with debris removal, including Army and Air Force horizontal construction units, tactical high water vehicles, dump trucks, and front-end loaders. Division of Emergency Management is coordinating with local EM directors to inform them of the debris waste and landfill sites that have been ordered to remain open 24/7, and are surging assets, of course, to supplement local debris removal coordination.
So DeSantis already taking proactive steps. People of Florida, Hurricane Milton's been upgraded to a Category 4. This was 5 hours ago. It's reaching Category 5. Evacuate right now. That is the order that is being put out. Here's Samaritan's Purse. They are doing real good work out there.
This is Franklin Graham. I'm the Samaritan's Purse outside our headquarters here in Boone, North Carolina. We never imagined that our little local airstrip would be used as a helicopter transport helipad. We've got supplies going out here every few minutes, going to different parts of the state that were cut off as a result of Hurricane Helene. Right now we're taking fuel, we're taking Starlink satellites, and thank you Elon Musk for helping with that. And also we've got generators going, fuel cans, the hoses that people will need to hook this stuff up. And we're sending out technicians today all over the state to help hook up these Starlinks. And we're sending out a lot of water, a lot of food. We're doing it all in Jesus' name. Remember to pray for them. God bless you. Thank you.
Amen. Oh, SamaritansPurse.org if you want to support that. These guys are on the ground, and if this Milton takes the northern track, I can't imagine the devastation. So please just pray for these people. But of course, more people are more concerned of politics. Here is the head of FEMA.
And hard to reach. The FEMA Administrator, Deanne Criswell, she joins us this morning. Thank you for joining us. Let's start out with the recovery and rescue effort. Where do things stand right now?
Good morning, George. We are still actively supporting the governor in this search for individuals, but at the same time, we continue to move in critical commodities into the places that have been hard to reach. And our plan and what we're doing with them is to make sure that we can sustain that for as long as needed, as we know it's going to take time to repair the infrastructure and get access to all of the roads in the communities that either have limited access or no access at all. We've got thousands of responders on the ground right now, along with thousands of volunteers and the private sector working alongside our state partners, the National Guard, the first responders in the community, meeting the needs of the people on the ground.
Do you have all the resources you need?
Absolutely, George. We moved resources in before this storm happened. We embedded our staff in the state to work side by side so we could quickly employ those resources to where they were needed. And as we continue to see how long we're going to have to provide this level of sustained support, we will continue to do that.
Let's talk about some of the misinformation that is out there, including these claims from former President Trump that FEMA is about $1
Yeah. So who's politicizing it now? The media.
billion short because money has been going to undocumented immigrants. Also, that the areas of the Republican areas of the state are being intentionally ignored in some fashion.
You know, it's frankly ridiculous and just plain false. This kind of rhetoric is not helpful to people. You know, it's really a shame that we're putting politics ahead of helping people, and that's what we're here to do. We've had the complete support of the state. We've had the local officials helping to push back on this dangerous, truly dangerous narrative that is creating this fear of trying to reach out and help us or to register for help. You know, people need resources, and we need them to get into the system. And it's just, you know, a shame that people are sitting home on their comfortable couches while we have thousands of people here on the ground that have left their own families to be able to help those in need.
So much is going viral online as well. One user suggested yesterday that a militia should go against FEMA. It got more than 500,000 views. What kind of impact has this had on the recovery effort?
I didn't hear that story.
It has a tremendous impact on the comfort level of our own employees to be able to go out there, but it's also demoralizing to all of the first responders that have been out there in their communities helping people, FEMA staff, volunteers, the private sector that are working side by side with local officials to go out and help people. I need to make sure I can get the resources to where they're needed. And when you have this dangerous rhetoric like you're hearing, it creates fear in our own employees. And we need to make sure we're getting help to the people who need it.
Yeah, but of course, diversity, equity, and inclusion is really how you're doling out this support. I mean, by your own policies. Don't try to BS me. And if President Trump's going to criticize you because you guys went ahead and dumped millions of dollars into illegal immigrant shelters in New York, Chicago, all across the country, but you're not helping the people here. You're sending millions and billions of dollars overseas to Lebanon, Israel, Ukraine. This whole thing is just a freaking joke. The whole thing is a joke. And right now, like this woman here, like her heartfelt story, friends, this is a firsthand account. When they talk about the misinformation, people are on the ground. They're talking about it. They're witnessing it. They're experiencing it. They're publishing it. But don't question it, like Pete Buttigieg says. Just fall in line. Get into the system, they say. Don't question any of the potential weather modification or perhaps the fact that, there's the largest lithium mine happening right there. Like all these things. We're allowed to ask questions, aren't we? Just want to make sure we're still allowed to do that in this country. Just pray for everybody, folks. I don't know how much more I can talk about this topic right now. We got a lot of other news to get to. but I'll leave you with this. Not to be. Appalachia has gone dark and criminals are pouring over the border, but Homeland Security Chief had time to go luxury shopping. Yeah. I stopped for clothes at Goodwill. Here's look at this. Joe Gabriel Simonson. For context about all the FEMA stuff, I saw Alejandro Mayorkas this afternoon at Sid Mashburn, which is the second time I've seen him there on a Saturday afternoon in about a month. So suffice to say, this guy isn't working around the clock. Here he is. There is Alejandro Mayorkas going luxury shopping while people suffer. I shopped for clothes at Goodwill last week, but I'm glad the guy who ran out of FEMA money for Appalachia has time to spend thousands of dollars on preppy business casual clothes. That's where we're at, friends. The great people of North Carolina being stood up by Harris and Biden. So while Milton barrels towards Florida, FEMA's more concerned with woke politics than American lives. DeSantis is fighting tooth and nail, but Washington, they're letting our people down, literally and figuratively. It's a disgrace. It's time that we demand answers. But I do want to hear from you. How has the government's response to this disaster affected your trust in federal agencies? Do you think that this is going to end Kamala Harris's chances? Because she could either step up and be the hero of the day, or she could fail miserably, and everyone will see it. Sound off in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going.